How you guys doing over there?
Good.
Good. Well, good morning, guys. It's 11 a.m. and today is our first MREI call, Millionaire Real Estate Investor Call. I'm here with Mary Beth and with Kurt and Megan. Thank you guys for all joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Awesome. And today we're really going to shift gears. Mary Beth and I have been doing the MREA series over the past, couple of weeks. So our Fridays we're really going to be devoting to wealth building and investing. So Kurt and Megan, if you want to start by just I know most people in our world know who you are, but talk about like yourself as investors and wealth builders and your experience in that arena.
Were you pushing the computer
Yeah,
over
no,
in
go
my
ahead.
direction so I can start?
Favorite thing. Go ahead.
And well, actually, this is going to be an ongoing thing. So I think we need to get to know who you are as well,
Right.
because people that maybe are going to join our group and are watching don't know brother and sister or husband and wife. Which one? Or best friend?
Both. Best friend.
Not brother and sister, though.
Not brother and sister. Best friends, husband and wife, business partners, life partners,
Awesome.
dreamers of dreams.
And you've been together how long?
We've been together 17 years.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Meg's 31, and I'm 33. So that's a lot. That's significant. Over half of both of our lives.
Yeah.
Did you guys meet in high school?
Yeah. First day of freshman year for me. He was a couple years
junior.
older, and I was like, that one. That was it.
The rest is
That is
history.
so cool. I love it.
That was a good investment.
You know what? Actually, that is a really good point, because we always look for potential, and I was like, this guy is going to do something with his life. Because what 16-year-old's walking around with like his head held high and like the confident, like same way he is now, 16. Like I was like, this guy's gonna go somewhere.
I
And
think it was more arrogance at 16 that was.
yeah, but it
Now
blossoms, you know.
I love it.
So yeah, we
actually, what was it? What was it about? How did you even know that was what was attractive at that age? You know, most 16-year-olds are like, "Oh, that guy's cute." You're like, "Oh, that guy's gonna go somewhere."
Yeah, well, for me, I've always been super type A, which is hard. And I just moved cross country from California to New Jersey. So already I was having a really tough time, like getting to know people, because I went from 1,000 people in my class to 160. And I had no idea what I was doing. And was having a really hard time like fitting in, because I am super type A and very like kind of blunt, but like, I think I'm really nice. So it was
I think Jersey's a better fit.
Yeah, it was a tough transition, and I was from California, and it was the whole thing, and he just was not intimidated by me at all, and that to me was like, I love this. And
Have
so,
you guys
like,
both taken the DISC assessment before?
Yes.
What are your DISCs? Like, are they complete opposites? Are they similar?
very similar.
Yeah.
I have a little more I than she does.
Yeah, we're both like high D. There is pretty much nothing else. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their KPAs are very interesting.
The KPAs are very different. They're really interesting, and our like Enneagram strengths finders, our Clifton strength, all that stuff is very different. So
yeah.
But in complementary.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They've done a really great job at figuring out who they are and why they're together. So go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, forever. So anyway, investment side, I think I kind of had more investment brain first. I love leverage, period. And to me, owning rental anything is the best form of leverage you can have.
Yeah. So
I remember, I guess I was in college and I started realizing the financials of the off-campus house my roommates and I were renting at Seton Hall. We lived in South Orange, then West Orange, and I this makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started a business right out of college, music recording studio, and there was a mixed use, 3 residential, 1 commercial up the street. I've told the story a bunch of times, so I don't want to, it can be long, so I just want to condense it. Bunch of units, we made the same seller financed offer every month for 9 months. They finally took it. It was kind of a distress sale, private mortgage, seller wasn't paying it. And we basically, more or less, we assumed her mortgage. So we bought a 4-unit building with 6 storage units too, which was another awesome additional revenue lesson.
Awesome.
Basically in downtown too.
Yeah,
Just
downtown
prime
Butler,
location.
which was awesome.
And
right
you
down
said
the-
there the keyword there is you did seller financing on that one, because that's
Correct.
really how you got started. We know your story, and we need to dive into that at some point in our calls, seller financing and what that looks like for some people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that was our first one. My business had some financial trouble along the way. We had an accountant steal a lot of money from us, and great. And we were both, between music and dance, Meg's profession, money wasn't plentiful.
No.
So we realized that our
You weren't
rental,
thriving there. You weren't thriving artists.
we were not thriving artists.
We were actually, but the bar is just,
Yeah, thriving as a dancer, if you make like $20K a year, that's like
I was
you're
crushing
rich.
it. Crushing it.
So anyway, that property carried us. Very good early lesson in our marriage and in our business partnership.
Yeah.
When we moved out of New York City back home, we were looking for a 2-family house because we wanted to do more of the same thing. We bought a 2-family in Boonton. We started flipping after that. What up, Dana?
Hey.
So we started flipping after that. We have business partners now, our admin and her husband. We do flips and holds with them too. It's honestly just a lot more fun to do it with other people. So they're totally in line with us. And so we're doing flips, we're doing holds. We got two holds we're under contract on right now. One's it's a mixed use property, but seller financed, like no money out of our pocket. So we're hustling.
And the other one's actually a single family and 2-family zoning that we are converting to a 2-family.
awesome.
Those are a gold mine. If you are a map nerd like my husband, which I actually found this one, I'm really proud of it. But it's in single family zoning, but we looked around and everyone else was a 2-family, and it's your standard Cape Cod. Super easy to convert to a 2-family. It's expanded on the upper level, and went to the town, said, hey, can we do this? They were like, heck yeah, of course. So the price that we were able to get it was significantly cheaper than a typical 2-family in that area. And so we're picking it up for the single family distressed price that we're then going to convert. It's going to be a pretty simple conversion. And then now we'll have that 2-family. So
you'll hold that one also?
Yes, we're going to hold that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mary Beth, I wanted to jump in just real quick, just to take a step back. I wanted to share, as we're talking about the MREI, I want to share my screen real quick if I can figure out which tab is open. But on the KW Connect platform, there's a whole section on the hold and the MREI and ultimately the different phases. Hold on, I'm trying to find the tab that I've opened. But it's on kwconnect.com. It might be this one.
So while you're looking for it, you got it.
Can you see my screen?
There you go. Yep.
So,
11 steps to wealth building through real estate investing.
11 steps to wealth building. And then the one I wanted to look up was your journey toward financial wealth, because I'm looking at Kurt and Megan. You guys are really deep into this. You guys have been doing this now for a little bit of time. But I also want to look at our audience who maybe has never even gotten into investing or who haven't started like wealth building opportunities. So I just want to highlight that on the KW Connect platform, if you go to materials and course materials in the MREI hold section, this is where I found all these materials, but this is something we could maybe jump.
Yeah, we can go through this. Before we dive into this, Matt, do you want to just introduce Dana, who just came on as well? Because she's going to be one of our regulars.
I think you should introduce Dana. She's your best friend, Mary Beth.
I think Dana should introduce Dana. Dana loves introducing Dana.
Yeah, it's a good time. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So I'm Dana, and I'm happy to be here. I grew up with Mary Beth in KW. Obviously, I am super passionate about wealth building through real estate. So I definitely don't have a fleet of properties. I am really I'll say cautious, and then that's peppered with some balance of Mary Beth kind of pushing me, which is a great thing. So right before the dawn of COVID, I was actually under contract on a 26 unit building in Jersey City. And when that fell through, I blinked and it was mid-March and I was like, wow, that fell through for a good reason, right? So moving forward, I feel like I'm embracing investment-wise the least number of roofs as possible. I like the multiple unit scope. Even in these times, this is just a season. This too, shall pass. I don't think we're going to be wearing masks for the next decade, right? So I definitely like, you guys are doing the 2-family. I would say multiple units and the least number of expensive roofs as possible is my focus. I also, although I'm open to do a flip, I organically gravitate to long-term holds as an asset to, create equity. And so, that's my jam.
Yeah. I think ultimately, I think the ultimate goal is to acquire assets and then be able to leverage the assets. And I think that a lot of us there's a beginning phase, and that's the hardest part. Once you get started, just from seeing Kurt and Megan's success in a short time and seeing where their mindset went from, oh, we could do one, we could do another, oh my gosh, we should do 10. And then include other people in the business, and literally went within a 2-year span just from, this to that. It's the first part of it, the gearing up, that first year of making those decisions, and some of them maybe looking risky, but calculated risk, and knowing when to actually pull the trigger, and helping some people through that to build wealth, because there's so many talented people in our lives, all of us, and you are those people in my life, and I just want more for some people, and it's just they're stuck in a place where they earn a certain amount. It's a comfort zone that if they were to do anything outside of that, it's going to shake what they have. So they can't risk that, and then therefore they never take the leap to buy a second home. Maybe they take the first home, but they don't buy the second home. And so I just want to help people through that, and I think that we all have a common thread that we like helping people.
Yeah, I think both of you guys touched on the hold being paramount, and we certainly subscribe to that too. The thing that I think is funny is that people ask us more often about the flip business than they do about the hold business, because
we're not excited about as much about the
business. But the flip business it's sexier to the public. Yeah. It's the TV show. It's
social media content.
Yeah, it's all that stuff that goes along with it. And I think that highlights the reason why most people are not wired or prepared to be great investors, is because they're looking for new money. They're not looking to create your grandchildren's old money. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if you want to be wealthy, you have to shift your mindset to a wealthy mindset, a wealth-made mindset. And if you want to really be wealthy, you need to hang around old money. Because
you're right.
So different.
It functions differently, because old money, it's not about. Meg and I are kind of car nerds.
Yeah.
I'm this way about people that buy Lamborghinis and people that buy Ferraris, because the Lamborghini's the flip. That's like the fast new money. It's like kind of sexy. Yeah. It's young. It's Miami. It's like all that stuff. But the old money buys pedigree. It buys history. It buys something that's going. When you look at the top 10 cars, most expensive cars ever sold, 9 of them are Ferraris. And when we buy investment properties, I want to buy Ferraris. I want for
our grandkids.
For our grandkids. Oh, I want a Ferrari. But,
we're also gonna get a Ferrari.
but like that old money mindset, it's not sexy, and it's not really. It's on Gary Keller's wall. It's not actually about the money. It's not actually about the money.
On our wall too.
It's so true. I feel like so many people, and that ask us about the flips and ask us about investing. The reality is a lot of people that we get to counsel come up with reasons and complications to justify their own inaction.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love that.
right, so I borrowed that from Ben
like,
Kinney.
That nugget, just
Like
pocket that one.
like a Twitter quote, right? The reality is it's true, right? And it stunts our growth. So I just want the ecosystem and atmosphere to hear. I too was one of those people who would think of reasons and, oh, there's other things I can invest in, and there's other, vehicles. And the reality is the statistic that comes up around the idea of wealth building through real estate is tenants who rent in the continental US have an average net worth of $5,200. And when you look at homeowners, same continental US, their average net worth is $238,000. So we see the tether between wealth building and real estate. So, nobody is driving by that brownstone in Hoboken saying, "Oh, I'm so glad I didn't buy that for $32,000 in 1978." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think though that the house is, Hoboken was 32,000 and now it's literally 1.6 million for some of those brownstones on Bloomfield or in the really desirable streets, Garden and whatnot. But it's crazy to think that a property like, let's say here in Port Amboy, sorry, would go from what is now like 300 to 600. But real estate continues to increase in value, and it just seems crazy to me. Now, yet if you purchased it even for 300 and 30 years from now it's still only worth 300 and you put a tenant in it the entire time, that's a free $300,000 for you. And moving forward, your cash flow.
Yeah.
It's funny, Dan. I loved when you were just discussing the average like lifetime renter versus the average lifetime homeowner. And I look at we had investor house hacker buyers that bought in East Orange 9 months ago. She grew up in East Orange. I think he grew up in Garfield, but they wanted to kind of invest in like their home community. And like I remember, and the dude's from my church, awesome guitar player. And I remember having this conversation with him, and really the biggest difference between there's two factors. If you can't handle risk, it is what it is. I get that, and there's certain people that just won't be able to stomach risk. But really, the biggest difference between generational society poverty and generational wealth is really education. That's the hinging point. And if you go into neighborhoods, anybody can become a wealthier human being than how they started life. Anybody can do that. And like that phrase creating generational wealth, it kind of like it loses its edge almost. But when you realize you could take somebody that can go from nothing, and in their lifetime maybe they bought 1-2 family, and then their kids have such a huge leg up, and their grandkids have such a huge leg up, and that's really that wealth mentality. And my grandma is like our point. My grandma's 86, lives on her own. She looks like she's 65. Yeah. She's awesome.
Kick a butt.
So, my grandpa came home from World War II, mail carrier. Mail carriers don't make a lot of money, but they both came from huge families, didn't have a lot of money. And my grandpa was like super safe moves, work, stable public job, put your money in the bank. My grandma stayed home like women should have. And she was like, she's doing our tax returns. And she's like talking to my grandpa, John, we need to buy another house. We need to buy a rental house because we need another tax return. And my grandpa, stubborn as hell, is like, nope. No way. I make the money. I make the rules. And she goes, all right, watch this. So she goes out and sells Tupperware, starts doubling his income. And I make the money now. I make the rules. Went out and bought a 2-family. She bought a 2-family in a flood zone in Riverdale for $30,000 and sold it for $400,000
with a cesspool. In like 2000s.
Yeah.
Like what?
That goes in.
What's her name? I'm gonna write her. What's her name? She's like my idol.
Lorraine. She's a gem.
She's like, yeah, but she instilled that into us, and she was like, we brought her the numbers on our first property, and she was like, oh, you have to buy it. You have to buy it. Figure it out. Just buy it. And we're like, oh, okay. Because it was a lot of money for, I was 22 when we first put that offer in. I was like, oh my gosh. Both our parents were like, don't do it. Don't do it. Grandma was like, hell yeah. Like, she was like the main one. So we went with grandma. And she started that whole thing. And now our parents are like, how do we invest? Can we get in? We want in.
Kieran was asking a question in the chat box. He writes, what are your thoughts on doing the flip to raise the capital for the hold, aka Ferrari? Like
well, how are you purchasing the flip? That would be my question. Because we get that question a lot. Is like, okay, well, how do we get the money to do the flip? How do we get the money to do the hold? And it's like, well, where are you getting the money to do either of them? You have to figure that out. And is it other people's money? Are you investing your own money? You have to kind of figure that out. But either way, it takes money to make money. Whether it's your money or someone else's, that is something that you can figure out on your own. I mean, we've used both. We've done other people's money. We've invested our own money in our first.
Megan, why don't you talk about that? What does it look like when you use other people's money? Because using your own money is pretty simple, right? You have money and you're just going to make a decision whether you're going to throw it down and the cash flow is going to make sense for you, or you have the resources, the time, the energy. Because Gene Rivers says, if you're going to do fix and flips, you just got yourself another job, because now you're a general contractor. Now you got to watch over a project. And if you are up for another job, well, then that's fine. But be clear, it's going to take time away from what your other job is. So if you're going to do that, then that's your focus. I think to Kieran's question, because he's an agent and he's our broker, is if you go sell a few more houses and get that money, you could do whatever you want with it. I wouldn't, look at my energy, put it on a flip and expect to get the same back that I could if I started lead generating for listings. But to the question about other people's money.
So there's a lot to unpack there. I think in a lot of ways, like when Kieran just asked this, and I know enough about Kieran's business that I know that like Kieran's in a similar situation with us, that like if you do a flip, that means Kieran's guaranteed to put another one of his signs in the ground. That means if he documents it correctly, stands to have a lot of content that he can put out for his own real estate sales business.
Yep.
So while yes, dollar for dollar, he theoretically would be taking away time from his real estate business, he's also adding some intellectual property that maybe allows him to increase mind share.
That's very intellectual, Kurt. That's a very intellectual perspective.
So
really, I was not thinking like that. That's great.
So at scale, yes, that becomes an issue. If you ever want to scale up your flip business, you can't be the one doing the work anyway.
But it's the same as your real estate business. If you're scaling up, who's your first hire? Your admin. So in the flip business, who's your first hire? Is it your contractor, or is it your admin, or is it project manager? Like it's leverage. So you have to think of it as another business.
So in terms of generating the capital, I mean, I think a lot of people get afraid of OPM, other people's money, because they don't truly believe that they're providing value or a business opportunity to that person.
Great point.
So if you think about it like a business pitch, you want to provide value to the person who is loaning you the money. Mary Beth, if I asked you for $300,000, I bet, and I gave you nice terms, I bet if you had it, you would give it to me because you know that I'm going to do something with it.
You mean I don't have to do anything? I'm going to give it to you. You're going to make it work. I'm going to get interest on my money.
Sure.
And I have set terms of when I'm going to get it back.
Exactly.
Sure.
I'm in.
Yeah. Of course you are. Because
if it's the woobs, because you've proven valid.
So think about it this way. If you have money and you like investing in real estate, but now you're at a point where you want to be safer with your money, you don't want to be doing work, you don't want to be answering calls, what's the least you can do to get a return on your money in real estate? And that's be the lender. You're
really making me think about this different, because you're talking about what if we didn't offer to do this with other people's money? We'd be doing our database a disservice, because there are people there that have money sitting in their bank accounts, and we're not giving them an option to invest in us to do what we do best, which is go and get properties and market them and sell them from, so we're actually doing our clients a disservice if we don't offer it as a potential option.
You're doing your friends and family a disservice.
Yeah.
If I didn't come to grandma first and give her an opportunity to make 10% on her money, why? I mean, I look at it this way: my grandma's given me so much. Why would I not want to bring her an opportunity where she can make more money? At this point, she doesn't care at all. She doesn't care, like zero cares about making money, other than the fact that she knows it's going to go to her grandkids soon.
So you're making yourself money on her money.
Essentially.
And she's okay with that.
She gets to
Yeah, I
see
love it.
she gets to see generational blessing in her lifetime. That's the
Which is
coolest.
crazy.
That's the coolest thing.
I mean,
That is
that's
the
our
coolest
big
thing.
why, and like that is literally our big why, is helping us and our friends and our family build that generational wealth, because we know what it can do. That one phone call with his grandmother started this whole journey for us. It got me into real estate into New York City. That one investment property started all of this that we're in right now. And it's changed our lives, and in turn is actually going to change my parents' lives, because when they get old, like, I can't afford to keep up their 5-bedroom house in Kinnelon. I can't afford that. So what am I going to do with them? Like, but if they buy an investment property now, that will pay for their retirement home if they need it, or, you know, health, but anything like that. So we're actually helping our parents now set that up.
Well,
and it's
your
cool.
grandma actually changed my life, because you guys inspire me so much. That who would have thought your grandma would inspire me? I mean, you know, like, look at the trickle effect. So we're looking for wealth determiners and people to put ourselves around, law of inner circle, who we hang with. And we maybe aren't even tapping into some people that we should be having some deep conversations with. But you said something that I know is very important, but to Dana, is building generational wealth, leaving legacy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I feel like a lot of agents specifically tend to sell away some of the best, most lucrative investments, right? Being real estate. So what I've done in the past, you know, just to have several agents make their first purchase.
Law of inner circle, who we hang with. And
else hearing that? Am I crazy?
Matt, that's you. You got to mute you.
Oh, fair enough. So, sorry, squirrel. I'm a high eye, you know. I just want to talk to everybody, and I heard Mary Beth's twin or something. So I feel like a lot of agents have an opportunity, and really, I'll give an example. You have maybe an all-cash buyer. We have several of them lingering in our database, right? And so you have an all-cash buyer, and there's a fantastic property. Let's say this is a $1 million property for easy numbers. So we know that as an agent, our compensation, let's just say around 2.5% of $1 million is $25,000. Now we have a decision, in my view, we have a decision to either sell away that transaction, earn a gross of $25,000, pay the house, pay IRS, right? Pay our expenses as a business, and then we're left with a certain amount one time. Or you can be a co-partner with, let's just say, this all-cash investor, right, in the single purpose LLC that owns that $1 million product long-term, and be in it for the long term for a certain percentage of ownership, and just build it up from there. Because yes, it takes money to make money often, and yet that's an opportunity where you dedicate your expertise, energy, counsel, and guidance to a client who you're empowering with a great property, and you may waive or invest, per se, your compensation to have a long-term play in what can be an asset.
That's how Linda McKissick did it.
Yeah. And she, I mean, I want to say her and Jimmy, they own over 110 properties, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Something, at one point, I think it was like 180, a couple restaurants, a couple regions, a couple buildings that the KW offices are in. But I know then she cashed out a little bit, built a multi-million-dollar house in Hawaii. But they all got started by finding other people, developers, investors, to buy into this major resort, like I think it was like Missouri or Montana or some kind of, I don't even know. And they worked themselves into the deal.
Yeah. I would just say, look at who you're getting into that business with. The person that fits the scope I just identified was so liquid, he was dripping off my desk, right? And I had a relationship with his family. I knew his kids. I mean, it was a very, very, we were in alignment. Keeps coming up. We were certainly in alignment and had similar goals. So yeah, those opportunities are out there.
So Mary Beth, I know we're getting to the 11:30 hour or 11:30 time, and I know
I
we
could talk to these guys forever.
I know I could too. Honestly, the value in this, like it's a lot of great information, very inspirational in a lot of ways too. And so we're gonna be doing this every Friday through the month of May and possibly beyond. You know, because I mean, this was a ton of great value. I do want to highlight, just as you've talked many times before, Mary Beth, go to kellerinc.com, KELLERINK.com, for any materials, whether it's MREI, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Yep, as Megan's pulling that up.
I love this book.
The other thing too, as I was showing you before, in KW Connect, there's all these resources for MREI and holds. There's, you know, the real estate criteria worksheet, your journey toward financial wealth. We can go into some of that next week. 11 steps to building wealth. There's also another document, and Megan, you may have something like this for yourself, but a property analysis worksheet that they have on the KW Connect platform as well. So just some things. There's a lot of resources that you can really plug into that we'll dive into next week.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll see you guys
Bye,
next
guys.
week.
We'll see you next Friday.
Bye, guys. Thank you.